Hello, welcome back. I hope you're gonna enjoy this video. In this video, I'll be talking you through the books that I may or may not read in the winter months. And the winter months are almost upon us, and I am not happy because winter, least favorite season of all time. That's not the point. I'm gonna talk you through the 22 books that I put on my winter TBR because we cannot avoid winter. We cannot go into a sleep like some animals do to avoid it. So I have put some fantasy books, I've put some dark romance books, I've put some romance books on my TBR, and we're gonna talk about them in this video. I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. Okay, we're gonna start with the fantasy section because I think that may be my biggest section of them all. So we're just gonna get it out of the way. The first book that I wanted to talk to you about is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia. Oh my god, the glare on this thing. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I've had this book on my physical TBR for, I think, like half a year, more than half a year now. And I got gifted this by my very sweet uncle. I love you. Anyways, I got gifted this and I want to read this before spring because in spring, it's my birthday and I want to have this book done before my 17th birthday comes around because then it will have been a year that I got gifted this and that's just ridiculous. So I need to get this done before that because I just feel like it's kind of, I don't want to say ungrateful, but not very appreciative of a gift if you don't read it like in the first year, I guess, or don't do anything with it in the first year. This book is basically about Emily Wilde and she writes in an encyclopedia of fairies, about fairies, and there's also a little romance I think going on. It's like a little bit of an academic kind of, not an academic setting, but these people are academics, I think, or something like that. Yeah, it's about a professor. Emily Wilde is a professor, and she writes the world's first encyclopedia of fairy lore. And then she meets someone, I think, who she has a little bit of an enemies to lovers with, maybe? It could just be that I'm spewing bullshit right now, but don't come for me. I hope that this is gonna be a good book, but also I'm scared that I'm not gonna like this, and I want to like it really, really bad, but I don't know if this writing style is gonna be for me. But honestly, I haven't read a single page of this, so how the fuck would I know if this writing style is for me or not? And then the next one is Quicksilver by Kelly Hard. I have the original cover, the pretty cover, the alternate cover, which is not available anymore, and I got it for pretty cheap as well, so I'm very happy with that. This is a fantasy romance, I think with fae, maybe? There's not a synopsis on the back. This is all the back says. Do not touch the sword, do not turn the key, do not open the gates. That's all it says. I've heard mixed things about this. I've heard that it's really, really good. Like, it's a perfect fantasy romance. If you love acotar, which I don't, but if you love that, this is gonna be something for you. It's like a great fantasy world. It's kind of cringy, maybe a little bit cliche, but it's a really fun time. This is also being turned into a TV series or a movie, I think, and the second book will come out in 2025, so that's next year. I've heard people say that it's very slow moving, that it doesn't move fast, but I've also heard other people say that it's very fast paced and you get through it really easily. So I just think it's a matter of personal preference. So I just think I'm gonna have to wait and see what I think about it. I've also heard some people say that the audiobook is really, really good. I am not an audiobook girly, so I won't read it or listen to it via audiobook. But if anyone is interested in doing that, this is an audiobook on Audible, I think. So that's great. Now that we're talking about thick books, Quicksilver, for example, which is more than 500 pages, we're gonna jump straight into this thick boy, which is Blood Mercy by Vila Roth. This is part 1 in the Blood Grace series, book 1. And this is a pretty big series. I think it's like 8 books long and it's very, very unpopular. It's about 650 pages, I think. I think that it's an enemies to lovers. It's about a mortal and like a vampire? I'm just kind of intimidated by the size of this. So I will read it, like, mark my words, I will read it, but when it's gonna be the time that I read it, I do want to read this in the winter because I feel like this is a very winter-coded read. I don't know if this is the only book that follows this couple because I do know different books follow different couples in the same world, I think, but I'm not sure if this is like the first and last book that this couple has or if there's like a second and third book. I don't know. I have no clue. Yeah. We're gonna have to wait and see. A Kiss of Iron by Claire Sager. This is also very fucking thick. I wanted to maybe add the second book in this series to my TBR as well, which is A Touch of Poison. And that is the second book, and not the last book in the series, but the last one that is released. I just decided to take it easy on myself and put one thick fantasy book in the same series on my TBR for the winter time. And if I really enjoy this book when I read it, I'm probably most definitely gonna jump into A Touch of Poison. But for now, I don't want to seem too ambitious and I don't want to overdo it. So we're only adding A Kiss of Iron to this TBR. Perfect for fans of Guild, which I loved, and From Blood and Ash, which I also really, really liked. Oh, she has to spy on the powerful Fae Lord known as the Night Queen's shadow. So this sounds like a fun time. I've heard great things about it. This is also going on the winter TBR. This is one book in a series, which is a reread, and then the other book in the series finishes off this duology, and I haven't read that one yet. So it's One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick and Two Twisted Crowns, also by Rachel Gillick, which are books in the same series, which is great. But I read this book a while back. I think like a year, maybe more than a year ago, actually. Maybe, I think it was in March of 2023. So that's almost been 2 years. Excuse the fuck out of me. But I read this in one sitting, I think. I read it in like one night or one day, I don't know. And I don't remember a single thing about it. The only thing that I do remember is that I enjoyed my time reading it, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to read it in one sitting. And I only remember that like the magic system in this are like kind of with tarot cards, I think. And there's like magic in these tarot cards and you have to collect them. But the only way you can have magic is through these tarot cards. And if you have magic from yourself, like, it's not allowed and you will be killed. And you get that magic from the plague or like a flu. This main character, Elspeth, she has this magic because she got caught with this flu sickness kind of thing. And now she has a little monster in her head. I do remember the ending of this, so I could potentially not read this one before diving into Two Twisted Crowns, but I do want to freshen up my memory because I only remember the ending of this and nothing else about it. And also Rachel Gillick is coming out with another book. I'm not sure, the moth and the something with a moth, I think. But she's coming out with another fantasy series, and I'm really excited about that as well because I really did enjoy her writing style. But the only reason that I haven't read Two Twisted Crowns yet is because of the fact that I need to reread One Dark Window in order to do so. The last series that I have, also a series, is the Mortal Instruments. Yes, this is the Mortal Instruments. Oh my god, cannot read today. We have the first 3 books in Immortal Instruments, and here's the thing. I would have put the whole series on my TBR, but I want to get these 3 done in the winter, and that is City of Bones. I've had this on my TBR for God knows how long, and then I recently bought the rest of the series, so we have City of Ashes and City of Glass, second and third book in the series, and I want to read these in a certain way. So I'm gonna start off with these 3 books. After I've read these 3 books, I'm gonna read The Red Scrolls of Magic, also by this author Cassandra Clare, because it's in the same universe, and that is the recommended reading order. After I've read part 1 in that series, I'm gonna dive into, I forgot, like Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, Clockwork Princess. I need to know what that series is called. I will probably remember it when I am there. No, not the Dark Artifices. Oh my god. The Infernal Devices. Okay, it's called The Infernal Devices. I also own The Infernal Devices. I have them on a shelf. So after I read the first 3 books in the Mortal Instruments, then I go into The Red Scrolls of Magic. After I've read that book, I'm gonna dive into the, oh my god, I forgot the name. Infernal Devices. I'm gonna jump into the Infernal Devices. After I jump into the Infernal Devices, I am gonna read, I think, the Bane Chronicles and then Tales of Shadowhunter Academy. After that, I think I'm gonna jump into the Dark Artifices series because I've also bought that. I haven't read a single book in that series, but I have faith that I'm really, really gonna enjoy them. So I just bought them all. Those were all the fantasy books, and I just shared all my reading plans for the coming year. And now we're moving into, let's do general romance right now. So the first one that I have is A Read for December, which is Kiss Her Once for Me by Elton Cochrane. This is a Christmas book, and I did read the back recently, or I did read like a synopsis of this book, but I completely forgot what it said. What I do know, I've explained this numerous times before. It's about this girl, she fake dates someone, he turns up with her in his house, I guess, and she meets his sister, who is her ex-girlfriend, I think. And it's like a second chance romance between those two girls. So it's also sapphic, which we love. I adore sapphic romance. I just don't read enough of them. This just sounds like a fun time. I hope it's a good time as well. It's also not too long, and I'm in this huge ass reading slump. So I hope I can finish this before Christmas is over. Okay, now we're moving into some hockey romance because the rest of the romance books that we have is hockey romance. When I think of winter and when I think of romance books combined, I immediately think of hockey romance because they're on ice. It's cold in that rink, in that ice rink, I guess. But we have The Graham Effect. What happened to my voice there? The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy and The Dixon Rule, also by Elle Kennedy. This is a series. These are the first two books in the series. The Charting Method is the third book in this series, which hasn't been released yet. It will release next year. I think, I'm not sure when. This is about the daughter of Garrett Graham and Hannah Wellesley? This book is about the daughter of the couple that we got in the first book in the Off-Campus series. And this is a whole entire different series. I thought that this was going to be like another daughter of main characters in the Off-Campus or Briar U series. But it's not. It's about a friend of this girl. So I am interested in finding out what these books are going to be like. I have skim read this already, so I do know how it's going to end, but that doesn't deter me from reading it again, I guess. And then The Dixon Rule, I don't know shit about this, but I know that the spicy scenes are apparently very spicy. And that's enough for me. Unravel Me by Becca Mack. This is part three. This is book 3 in the Playing for Keeps series. This is another hockey romance. This is about a single mother, and she's also a vet student, and it's about Adam, who's the, I was about to say golf player, that's not right, who's the hockey player, and they have like a little bit of a romance together. And I think Adam, which we have already been introduced to in the last and the first 2 books in the series, I think he's gonna like stand up for this single mother who is called Rosie, and I think he's gonna be like a stepdad kind of thing. Daddy. Unsteady by Paisley Corrine. This is a hockey and ice skater romance. So the male main character in this is a hockey player, and then the female main character in this is an ice skater. And he has a lot of anxiety, the hockey player. He has a lot of anxiety. He has PTSD from an accident that happened previously, I think a year before that. And he has these panic attacks, and she's basically helping him get through these panic attacks and helping him, like, I don't want to say recover, because can you ever recover from PTSD? I don't think so, personally. It just gets better with time, I guess. Me saying that as a person with traumas. I really do hope that it's gonna be, like, wholesome, but also gonna be, like, sensitive and heartwarming and just emotional, but also not too emotional, but emotional to the point where it feels real and where it feels raw, but not to the point where I'm like, oh, this is making me depressed. I think these two people in this book have problems. She has problems and he has problems, and I think they kind of help each other out with their problems, like kind of help each other cope with the problems that they're having. I feel like that's a good setup for a great story. And now we're moving into the dark romance, which I think, yeah, all of these are indie published because dark romances don't get traditionally published that often. The first one we have is The Never King by Nikki St. Crow. This one is also on my December TBR, so I hope I can get to it this December. This is like a dark Peter Pan retelling where Peter Pan is like this villain and he kidnaps people. And she has a romance with this Peter Pan. It's also short, so it's easy to get through. So I feel like this is gonna be like an easy, quick read, especially because it's under 200 pages. It's gonna be a fun time. It's gonna be very spicy. I know that's gonna be very spicy, but I know that going into it because I've heard people say like, it's too spicy, there's not a lot of plot, and in the beginning, it had a good setup for story. But then the smut happened, the spice kept happening, and it wasn't as good as they predicted. But I have faith because I'm going into it knowing that it has a lot of spice. And I'm here for a spicy time. I'm gonna enjoy it even if it doesn't have any plot. This book has been on my TBR, I think, maybe half a year. Nightfall by Penelope Douglas. This is the last book in the Devil's Night series. I really need to finish the series. I've come so far, and I really do want to read this book because I don't think the rest of the books in the Devil's Night series are bad. I just don't love them per se. These are like interconnected standalones, but they are a little bit more connected than the usual interconnected standalones. This you cannot read separately because they do follow a general storyline, but they do follow different couples every single time, and it does focus mainly on a romance but there's also like a little bit of a crime situation, a little bit more of a sensitive topics, I guess. And I already kind of know what that sensitive topic is going to be in this book because it has been talked about in the previous books in the series. This is about Emery and Will, and I was kind of hoping for Will's book to be with a guy because I felt like it was definitely hinted at the fact that Will was or is, I guess, bisexual. This is just a straight romance, which I'm not mad about. Like, that's fine as well. But I was just hoping that there would be like a queer romance in this, but it's not. That's fine as well. Like, I will like this book either way. Like, whatever, I don't care. But I feel like the character development would make more sense if that was the case, I guess. I'm just gonna have to wait and see what I think of this book. This is a whole entire series that I want to get done before the winter is over. Hollow Boys series. So book 1 is The Lies We Steal. Book 2 is The Truths We Burn. Oh my god, did I just... We're gonna ignore that. Book 3 is The Blood We Crave Part 1. Then book 4, The Blood We Crave Part 2. And then the last book, The Oath We Give. And I want to get that done. This is a dark romance series between, I think, I'm not sure if all of them are serial killers, but I do know for a fact that the first book is about serial killers. And it is similar to the Devil's Night series, apparently. Like, people's... Oh my god. Was that there the whole time? It's apparently very similar to the Devil's Night series. And I do like the setup for the Devil's Night series, but I just feel like they fall a little bit flat for me. And I hope that this series... I'm gonna grab it. This series will give what the Devil's Night series didn't give for me, personally. Like, I know a lot of people love the Devil's Night series, and I like them, but they are just a little bit underwhelming for me because... like, they are darker reads, but I still don't think that they're really that dark at all. And I feel like this will give me that darkness that I'm looking for in a book series, I guess. But I have faith that this will be like a 4-star series for me. If it's going to be higher, great, amazing. But if it's going to be 4 stars, I'm going to be happy as well. So we're manifesting that this series is going to be a 4-star series, at least. Those were all the books that I wanted to talk to. No, those were not! We have another romance book! Yay for that! That is the last book, because these books together, 21 books. The last book, the 22nd book of this video, is Barbarian Alien by Ruby Dixon. So this is a sci-fi romance book. This is the second book in the series. The first book is Ice Planet Barbarians, which I read a few months ago, maybe like 2-3 months ago. And I actually really enjoyed that, surprisingly, because I haven't actually read a monster romance before this. But I am getting this for Christmas, so I'm very excited about it. And I have heard a lot of negative things about this, and that this is not as good as the first book. That's kind of a little bit darker in the sense that our female main character gets kidnapped, and that the male main character in this, which he is an alien, that he's kind of rude to our female main character. I just have to see for myself. Like, I'm not gonna judge something off of another person's judgment. Those were all of the books that I wanted to talk about. I am not going to pick up all of these books. It's too much. Not going to happen. I'm sorry, babes. Not going to happen. But I do really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, like this video and subscribe if you want to see more of me. All my links are in my description. And I hope I'll see you later. Bye-bye.